Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the first part of this week's Super Rugby review preview program. We'll have a look back at the weekend that's just passed us by, and then we'll have a look forward to what's coming up this weekend in round number 14. But first things first, let's kick things off. Have a look back at round 13. What happened, what I thought about what happened, how our picks went, and who was the pick of you lot coming away with the most points from your selections over round 13. And now, as of course we kick things off every single episode with the teams that are missing from this round action with the bye. They are of course the Brumbies, the Cheetahs, the Highlanders and the Hurricanes, who all missed out on last weekend's action. So the remaining teams had a full round of matches coming your way, and it all kicked off on Friday night with just one match. A bit bizarre having only one match to watch on Friday night, and didn't seem to go on all night like they normally do with matches in Australia. Then they go over to Perth, and before you know it, it's bloody 2 a.m. and you don't get up till lunchtime the next day. Anyway, enough about my weekend troubles. On to the matchup, and the Crusaders, they had a lot of milestones coming into this match. Andy Ellis picking up 150 Super Rugby caps. A huge achievement for Andy Ellis, who's leaving the Crusaders at the end of the season. And of course, Wyatt Crockett coming away with 165 caps, the most for one player to have with one team as well. So congratulations to both of those two on those big milestones with the Crusaders, and they played like they really had something to owe to these two guys as well, because the Crusaders, they blasted the Waratahs completely off the park right from the get-go. 2 tries in 8 minutes. It was 12-0 and the game had hardly even started, and the Waratahs really didn't look like they were ever going to find a way back from that horrific start. But we've seen before, they do have the ability. But the Crusaders kept on chugging away, and at half-time, they had built themselves a tiny little lead, 22 points to 5 over the Waratahs. Now, it looked like Shields all currents from there on in, and the Crusaders, such a good team in control of a matchup as well, and they continued to show that domination throughout. As for the Waratahs, there wasn't too much good stuff coming out of this match for them. Israel Folau once again in the centres, made good work out of the little ball he had, but ultimately the Waratahs really struggled to put anything together as well. We saw a glimpse of Zach Guilford in his speed, but really not quite the player he was in years gone by when he did get that black jersey for a couple of occasions. So the Waratahs really not up to the task whatsoever, and they went down in quite a convincing scoreline as well for the Crusaders, 29 points to 10 over the Waratahs. My prediction for that one was 34-17, Crusaders to get the win, so it wasn't too far off, but still outside that 10-point buffer, so just grabbing the 1 point from our opening matchup. So it wasn't until Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening here in New Zealand, until we got our second taste of Super Rugby for the weekend. It was the Reds at home against the Sunwolves. Now, this is a game I was quite looking forward to seeing between two very similar sides as well. I expect this one to be quite an exciting matchup, and with so many Japanese players representing on both sides, obviously the Sunwolves full of them, obviously being the Japanese franchise. But the Reds had a number of them themselves, none more notable than fullback Goromaru, who was looking to star, but ultimately fell with a pretty bad-looking injury that will see him, quite likely at this stage, out for the season. Kind of ironic that it was the Sunwolves he did it against, but a shame that the Reds are now without both of their fullbacks. So we're hoping and praying Carmichael Hunt will be back very, very soon to fill the number 15 jumper. Goromaru really didn't have a good fist of Super Rugby with the Reds at all. The Reds, so they never really got away from the Sunwolves, although they did lead for pretty much the whole entire matchup. At one point, the Sunwolves even pulled it back to dead even, 25 all, with just 20 minutes to go. Derek Carpenter, again, a very, very capable player who has added so much structure, stability, and X Factor, the ability to break the line, and their Sunwolves backline it has proved another real string in the bow of the Sunwolves backline, who have just got better and better defensively and attackingly as well. Both sides of the ledger, the Sunwolves look a much better side than we've seen weeks and weeks ago. Ultimately, the Reds come out on top of that one, 35 points to 25. A very entertaining match, a very fun and exciting match to watch as well. My prediction was 36-33, so I'm inside that 10-point buffer and grab 2 points for the first time in the weekend. Following that, we made our way over to New Zealand, where the Chiefs were in action against another Australian side, and it was the Rebels who were in town to face the Chiefs. And much like we've seen in our opening match on Friday night, the Chiefs really did just smash Rebels off the park right off the whistle. If you missed the start, the first 15-20 minutes, you pretty much missed the whole entire game. They were up at one point 26 points to 3 in the first half, which there's very little coming back from a team that is that much stronger after a very short period of time. Once again, Tamati Valu was very impressive in the midfield for the Chiefs. He's becoming a regular, consistent threat in a backline full of stars, but that is one man who's putting his hand up alongside Charlie Ngatai, James Lowe, not to mention Damien McKenzie, Aaron Cruden as well. You know, the names, you can drop them like nothing else in that Chiefs backline, and they were destroying the Rebels from every which way. Don't forget about their forward pack as well, proving to be just as good as any in the competition and really laying a great platform for a team to get a start like that. The Rebels, to their credit, they searched and searched for tries anywhere they could. It was Sturzak, the captain, this little young scrum half. He's a very promising player for the Rebels, but he was trying so desperately hard to get his team over the line. He was taking penalties to the corner time after time after time. They were just not paying back what they put in. It's a shame for the Rebels. I thought they had a good attitude, a good committed game plan, but the Chiefs' defense was just too good in the end and just helped them out pretty much for the entire match. And the final score probably doesn't reflect that first half blitz. The Chiefs very much laid off the gas in the second half, but still come away with a very comfortable 36-15 win over the Melbourne Rebels. Now, my pick for that one was 28-11, Chiefs to come out on top, so I pick up, again, 1 point for that result. So back over the ditch we go, back to Australia, where it is the Force in action against the Blues. And this is one I thought would be quite a real tussle between these two sides, who often promise a lot, but very, very little is much delivered. And exactly what I predicted, just about pretty much is what happened. I think I nailed this one right on the head. Two sides, as I said, that intend very much to attack, but make so many errors and mistakes. It's just the execution is not quite there. We know the Blues have the finishes, but again, it's the process of getting through the hands, through the moves, that just doesn't do them well enough. The weather, of course, was another unhelpful factor. Drizzly, wet, just that real annoying kind of rain proved to be quite detrimental to the attack of these two sides. The Force, though, a big loss for the Western Force. They are losing their talismanic captain and possibly their greatest player in Matt Hodgson. And it looks like he's gone for the season as well, which is going to be massive. I mean, the Force season effectively is over. We know they're not going to do anything constructive near the back end of this year, but really to lose a player like Hodgson at any stage of the season, where it be 1 week, 1 month, or the whole year, is a massive loss. He really is the heart and soul in this Force side, and that is a really, really massive loss for the Force. The Blues' lead in the first half was nicely constructed, but they just lacked that full 80-minute performance, and they fell off the pace very much in the last quarter of the match. Even the whole second half, you could say that the Blues really weren't up to the action, and they defended a huge amount, where the Force was surging back into the game, and they were scoring points for the Blues, were sat on a stalemate. It was I don't know if you call it an exciting finish, but it was a tense finish for the two sides, both desperate for the victory. In the end, it was the Blues who held on tough after really putting everything into that opening half display that held them right till the very end. 17-13, the Blues picked up the win, and with that, my prediction was 19-15. That's pretty bloody close, just a couple of points out each. So I grabbed 2 points for the second time this weekend for getting the pick within 10 points. I was quite happy with that. I knew it was close watching it as well. It was a great matchup, just not at that high level that we come to expect. On to the next match of the weekend, and we're off to see the Lions take on the Jaguars, and what's a game of two halves, you could say. Ultimately, the first 50-60 minutes were very close, very tight. Points were hard to come by and very well accepted by the teams. Anything they grab hold of, they would take with both hands. But then the final quarter, the final 20-25 minutes, I don't know what on earth happened, but the game just exploded. There was just tries flying out the window every which way you could look, like they were falling from the sky. It was just catch and run. The offloads were flying everywhere. It was amazing. These two sides were showing that the attacking game was alive and well in the Lions and the Jaguars. A multitude of names that you can mention here for the Lions that really exploded. Mapu, Combrink, two who really stormed into the game late on. Elton Yantes, he had a great hand in the match as well, but went off with an injury, which I read he's going to be out for about a month, which could be bad for the Lions. But when you think about the fact that he'll probably miss the international window, bad for South Africa maybe, but the Lions, with their playoff chances well and truly intact, will be hoping they can keep him back for Super Rugby when it resumes in July. So that's a big loss, but Yantes really was at the top of his game. Another man that stood up for the Lions, Brink, a new name, a newcomer. I haven't seen him before in this Lions outfit, and he was amazing. A real ball-running back rower as well. Was great to see some more amazing talent coming through Super Rugby. So many great performances from the Lions. Although the Jaguars on their side of things, they played a very good game for about an hour, and then you just don't know what went wrong. The Lions just wouldn't let the ball die. Their attack was just so sharp and pinpoint that it was just extremely hard to defend. I kind of felt sorry for the Jaguars. When the team hits the straps perfectly, there's just not much you can really do. And I felt that last 20 minutes, the Lions, they just hit the nail right on the head. Squared down, bang into the wood, and they just looked so good. I think they would have destroyed just about anyone on that last 20 minutes. They just played and executed, and those 50-50s just all went to hand. The Lions doing it easy in the end, 52-24 over the Jaguars. Now that's a real smashing as well, considering it was only a few points in it before that onslaught started. My prediction for this one was 29-21 to the Lions, so I still grabbed myself 1 point for getting the correct winner. Right, second to last match of the weekend, it was the Sharks versus the Kings, and we all know what's going to happen here, but I think I went a lot worse than we first anticipated. Now, I've praised the Kings over recent weeks for their attacking ability and what they can do, because let's not focus on their defense. It's dreadful, but their attack, I think, has been good, and if they start to build on their defense, knowing what they can do in attack, they could become a decent Super Rugby side. But everything went completely missing in this game against the Sharks. They couldn't attack, they couldn't defend, they couldn't do anything, and they just got absolutely bulldozed by a very good Sharks side, which was love and life, with the return of one Patrick Lambie, who was absolutely tip-top form as well. 8 tries to zip. It was all one-way traffic for the Sharks, and Well, there was nothing that the Kings could do. They couldn't attack, they couldn't defend, and the Sharks just destroyed them on every single scale. Lambie, again, a huge boost to their attack. I think their game has developed massively, having Lambie back on the park, back starting, and he really makes his team look quite a bit different with his experience and his running of the ball as well. This was one-sided, a destruction thrashing from the Sharks, 53-0. That's right, 0. Not even a penalty, not even a consolation try, nothing at all for the Kings. So that came as a bit of a surprise. I thought the Kings normally attack fairly well, as my prediction, which was 47-22 to the Sharks. So I got the Sharks score pretty close, but the Kings gave them a bit too much credit. They just could not break that defense of the Sharks that has been so good for so long. The Kings weren't up to the task whatsoever. Final round of the matchup here, and it was the Bulls at home to the Stormers. Now, this one was real interesting to watch as well, because there's two sides with a different form leading into this game. You know, the Stormers struggled against the Sunwolves. The Bulls had a torrid tour of Australia as well, and it's two sides that would consider themselves frontrunners for playoff late season time on the field as well. The two sides on the wrong side of the form book, and I think this turned out to be one of the best matches of the weekend. A real arm wrestle, a real tussle between two very good sides defensively, and two sides with enough X-Factor players in the back line to do the damage as well. But in the end, with the way that the game played out, the defense of either side that really shut down any glimpse of an attack by their opponents, the pressure was firmly on the Fly House and their kicking game as well, territorial and off the tee. It was big defense, and both sides only breached it once throughout the match, which is amazing to only see a couple of tries in such a real tussle between these two sides. The Bulls almost played a Sharks-like game, and really the Stormers as well played that sort of style as well, trusting in the defense and looking to take the chances of points whenever they arise from their opponent's mistake. This was a real close and tough matchup as well, and it wasn't until Schumann put over that drop goal in the last few minutes that any separation was really given between these two sides. At the point it was 14-13 to the Bulls, there was always that threat of a drop goal or penalty back the other way, so they nullified that. Their lead out to 4 really did close the game out well for the Bulls, who I backed as well, and kind of thought I was going against the trend on that one as well, but happy to see that the result has come my way as well, which is great. The Bulls really look good when they play to their new style, and that this time they had to knuckle down and do their hard yards. Final score on that one was 17-13. The Bulls with the win over the Stormers. Another point to myself for that one, but my prediction was a wee way out, 28-26. The margin of difference was about right though, but this game really was focused on defense. Alrighty, so that concludes our look back at round 13. We had some absolutely cracking matches, but I'm really happy to say I've picked up every single head-to-head result correct over round 13 and picked up a couple of bonus points to give me a total of 9 over the weekend. Now, quite a few of you put in your own picks, but only one of you managed to match my selections, and that was TGI 321, a name we heard quite a lot earlier on in the season, but hasn't had the best of weeks recently. He's back with some stunning picks as well. 3 bonus points he actually picked up throughout his picks, which is great for him. He picked up 9 points over the weekend to equal, but not beat me just yet. You can see my totals throughout the season on screen now to see how I've gone, building up quite a few points. A round of 9 coming for this weekend I am quite happy with as well. But don't forget to tune in to the preview video. Will be coming your way tomorrow for round 14, and you can have your say and see who you think will do the damage in Super Rugby for this weekend's matches. But until then, thanks for tuning and watching. Hope you're enjoying all the content coming your way on the channel, and I'll see you all very, very soon for some more Super Rugby action. Until then, take care.